Welcome back to the Breaking and Kintsugi Repair of Stone series. This week we're going to look at a group of broken heart pendants. They come from heart-shaped stones that are a mix of black agate and quartz. So we'll see some properties of agate that we talked about in earlier episodes, and also some qualities of quartz that we talked about in last week's episode. So here are three examples of this kind of stone. You can see that each one of them has a little bit different look in how it combines the two stones. There do tend to be more inclusions, rough spots. Here's a rough spot on this one. Places where you can see in the quartz, there's a lot of striations there in the stone from inclusions and just the way it was formed. But these give very interesting break patterns and are very interesting to put back together. So let's go ahead and break one of these, and then we'll take a look at how the two of them put together give us some different effects in how they break. And here's the stone from the far left in our earlier pictures that has been broken. And as usual, I put the curved side down, put the chisel on the flat back of the stone, and then hit that with the hammer. And so this is what we got. You can see here, it did not necessarily break along the lines of where the agate and the quartz meet. It broke through the different pieces. But you can see, this piece is a good example. The agate tends to break much like we saw in agate. It's fairly clean in the sense that it doesn't crumble that much. Both sides still give the conchoidal breaking tendency of that curved, layered look. But you can see here the quartz is much rougher along the break point. There's you can see lots of little pieces of quartz that have come out, whereas from the agate we only have a tiny bit. So this is very common in this particular type of stone, and some of it has to do with the fact, as I pointed out earlier, that the quartz in this tends to have lots of inclusions and tends to have kind of those striations in it that lead more to this crumbling than what we saw, for example, with rose quartz in the last episode. So if we get rid of all these little bits, and some of these seriously are the size of sand, we can then put the rest of this back together, and it goes together fairly well, although there are areas, particularly you can see there's a spot right here where there's kind of a bit of a rough joining. Here on the back you can see places where it crumbled, and that's what a lot of this little stuff is here in this area where it's crumbled, and you see that gap. So one other thing which you can't tell on video, but this stone has a very unique feature when I break it that I have not had in any other stone. But when I break it, it absolutely reeks. I don't know if it is something they've used to stabilize it, if it's a natural gas that was in this mix of stone before they even started working with it. But every time I break it, it lets loose something that just really stinks. And it clears fairly quickly. It's definitely not in the final stone that I put for sale, but the breaking of it is a fairly nasty smelling process. So let's take these pieces here, get them put back together, and we'll see what the final product looks like. And after repair, this is what we get. You can see the main pieces that we saw in the broken piece. You can see here where the quartz crumbled a lot more than the agate did. Those areas of crumbling have greater amounts of fill. The other thing you may notice, there's a couple spots here on the back which are a little bit harder to see in this light, but there's definitely one right here where we've got a surface crack in the quartz where it started to fracture along the surface. You can't actually feel it, you can just see it. But it didn't break through, so it could be repaired. So this is something I very frequently see in quartz, also in aventurine, but definitely in quartz, where I do get these surface cracks that are visible but not repairable. So this is our mix of black agate and quartz. To see this item or other Kintsugi repair stone jewelry items, please visit our shop at akintsugilife.com. Thanks for joining us.